It's Monday morning. You're getting ready to leave the house. You've got all of your belongings. You've got your Red Bull, your backpack. You kiss your dog on the face, and you leave the house and get into your car. You put your seatbelt on, you put your key in the ignition, and turn it, all while thinking about work or school or the date you went on last week. You drive to the end of the driveway and make a left, completely oblivious to the magic that has just occurred. You turn the key and your engine starts. Why? What happened here? Well, it's complicated, but we will simplify the process in a way that helps to gain an understanding of a running engine. We're going to gloss over quite a bit here, as an in-depth video on electricity alone would be very long and unnecessarily complicated. To understand the basics of how all this works together, you just don't need to know all of this right now. When you turn your key, a connection is made that allows an electrical signal to travel to the engine's starter motor. That signal allowed the full power of the vehicle's battery to shoot through some cables into the starter, causing the starter to spin. At the exact same time, an electromagnetic field was created, and a gear inside the starter motor shoots out and makes a connection with the vehicle's flywheel. Once the gear hits the flywheel, all hell breaks loose. The flywheel turns, which forces the engine to turn over and subsequently start. So you turn the key and the engine is spinning. Now what? Well, a lot actually. In order to understand this, we need to understand what a four-stroke internal combustion engine is. Nearly 90% of all personal use vehicles sold in 2022 were this type of engine, so even though the concept has been around since 1853, it still persists today and is worth learning about. If you think about it, your car's engine is just a machine that produces small explosions over and over. Each cylinder produces one explosion every RPM. RPM stands for revolutions per minute. In an engine, 1 RPM equals 1 full rotation of the crankshaft. People tend to think about their car engines as having a top half and a bottom half. Here we are speaking of the bottom half. In the cylinder block, there are pistons. The pistons are connected to the crankshaft, and when the crankshaft spins, the pistons go up and down at different times. There are some very complicated things going on here with timing and firing order that we are just not going to talk about right now, and we'll save for a future video. Here we'll explain the concept of four-stroke engines using one cylinder. We'll think about the word stroke as the up and down movement of a piston. The four strokes are the intake stroke, the compression stroke, the power stroke, and the exhaust stroke. It goes something like this. For simplicity, we will assume the piston starts in the highest place it can be in the cylinder before it gets pulled back down by the crank. Intake stroke. The intake valve in the head opens as the piston gets pulled down by the crank. This creates suction. The suction pulls in an air and fuel mixture. The compression stroke. During this phase, all valves are closed and the piston travels back up the cylinder, creating a massive amount of pressure. At just the perfect moment, not too early and not too late, the spark plug supplies spark to the cylinder and an explosion occurs. That explosion causes a buildup of pressure in the cylinder. That pressure forces the piston back down, causing the crank to spin and move other pistons. Exhaust phase. The piston travels back up the cylinder with the exhaust valve open and the intake valve closed. This forces superheated exhaust from the explosion to travel out the exhaust system and into the atmosphere. Now imagine all four strokes across all of the cylinders in an engine. Explosion after explosion, keeping the engine running until you turn it off or it runs out of fuel. Okay, and that is the basics about how engines start and stay running. We did not get into the top half of the engine, which includes the cylinder heads and all of that, but to understand valves for the purpose of this video, just pretend there are two holes with doors on them, and they open and close whenever they are told to by an outside force. That is all for this video. I hope you're able to get a basic understanding about how combustion engines work and what goes on when you turn your key and your engine starts. Feel free to send me messages, leave comments, and all of that cool stuff, and I will see you next time. Take care.